What's up, everybody? Doug here, and I don't think you understand how happy I am to make this recording because I have been trying since I left work, and the Anchor app wasn't working, and then there was big wrecks. I kept fumbling the intro, just all kinds of things going on right now. Before we get into it, I just want to say that if you're in the Lake Charles area on May 26th and May 27th, I will be performing a 4-hour show, 8 to midnight, on both of those nights at LeBaron and the L Bar. It's gonna be a lot of fun. As far as I know, I don't think they charge a cover, so you can just come, hang out, enjoy some drinks, enjoy the music, hopefully. Uh, but oh, I'm stumbling again because there's a lot of traffic. But basically, if you like the show, we've got a lot of episodes out already. I think we're on. I just put out episode 10, which was my Spirit Fair review and the Redfall first impressions. And also, we have reviewed and ranked almost every Resident Evil game from Resident Evil 1 on the PlayStation 1, all the way up to Resident Evil 5. And the episode with Resident Evil 6 and Revelations is going to be coming out soon as well. After that, the Resident Evil series is almost completely wrapped. We've got our episode for Resident Evil 2 and 3, and then our episode for Village, and we're going to go ahead and rank all of them. If you're wondering where 7 is, that's because we kind of already did 7. We kind of did it out of order for a little bit. But yeah, if Resident Evil isn't your deal, we've got a few other episodes. We've got the Hogwarts Legacy talk with Colin and Tyler. We've got me reviewing Dirk Bentley's album, Gravel and Gold. Plenty of content to keep you satisfied. But today, I'm going to go ahead and give a taste of what's coming. And what's coming is there's a lot of retro gaming that's going to be flooding this RSS feed. Basically, Leo and I are going to be doing a series where we talk. We go. Let me start with the original idea. The original idea was going to be that. Am I even recording? Okay, I'm still recording. The original idea was going to be that we're going to rank the launch lineups of every console. Every console that matters. Like starting with the NES, going to the Sega Genesis, going from there to I think the Game Boy was after that. And the problem with that is that while it would be interesting, and I still want to do that, that could maybe just be a podcast, like an episode in and of itself. But there's a lot of bad games in these launch lineups, and I didn't want to like burn us out by playing a bunch of bad launch games. So the idea that we had was that we were going to take 10 games from each console that we feel represents what that console is to the best of its ability. Like I'm pretty sure the NES lineup is like Mega Man, Super Mario Bros. 3, Castlevania 3, Excite Bike, games like that, that caliber. And well, again, that's a great thing to do, but I decided to come up with these solo episodes, right? Where I can, if Leo's ever busy, I can come in and talk about other games in those console eras. And the cool thing about the Steam Deck allegedly is that I can go through and allegedly play these games that I never got to play as a kid, for whatever reasons. And I have a spreadsheet, and some people might call me insane, but I've got plans for over 200 episodes with this mentality, and that number is going to fluctuate because I still have more to add, and I still have sometimes I'm going to combine them like I'm going to do today. I'm combining 2 episodes into one recording session here, and yeah. So we're going to start with the NES. Then so far I have planned up till. I've done NES, SNES, Genesis, Game Boy, and Game Boy, encompasses Game Boy and Game Boy Color games. Game Boy Advance, I've started PS1, and then from there, we'll look at, Nintendo DS and GameCube and PS2 and the original Xbox, so on and so forth. But yeah, this is basically going to be a big introspective where I go through and I play all these great retro games, or in some cases not so great retro games that I never really got a chance to play. And I definitely plan on ranking them within the confines of their system. Like I'm gonna rank all the NES games. But what would be interesting, maybe as like a little side thing I could try, is ranking all of them. Ranking, putting them all in one massive list, and pretty quick. That's going to get hard to do. But I feel that it might be interesting to try. We'll see how it works out. But so the first episode of this show was going to be the Castlevania episode, where I talk about Castlevania, just Castlevania 1 and 2, because obviously we're going to be talking about Castlevania 3 and the other episode where when Leo comes over. But I never really had a touchstone for Castlevania until the anime came out in like I don't know, 2017 maybe. It might have been a little bit before that. But when the anime came out, I really got this itch where I need to go back and try some of these games. And I booted up my 3DS and I saw that they had the original Castlevania on the virtual console. So I downloaded it and very, 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 very quickly discovered that it was a difficult game, and I had to save state scum it basically. And if you don't know what that means, basically, uh, on a lot of virtual consoles or emulators, something like that, there are these things called save states where you can basically it's exactly what it sounds like. It saves the game right where you are at in a point in time. And what I would do is every time I would get past a part that I found, was kind of difficult, I would do a save state right there. Whenever I would, it would get to the point where I always wanted to keep full health. So if I ever got hit in any way, shape, or form, I would probably load the save state to another part where I had full health. Or if I was close enough to the end of like at the end of the stage, I would save state there and try to cheese my way through the boss, because most of the time at the level you would get you get your health back, which was a really cool thing. And I feel like if you I like modern Castlevania seems like a much different beast than what these games, Castlevania 1, 2, or well, more Castlevania 1. Castlevania 1, it was closer to like a side scrolling uh like more like a side-scrolling adventure, more along the lines of Mega Man, honestly, where you were going left to right, and you had one set of like you weren't like exploring really. You were more or less just going through the levels, killing enemies, and then at the end of each level, there's a boss that you had to kill, right? And not gonna lie, Castlevania 1 is it's a rough game, and if you don't have save states, God bless you, but you need to quit playing on whatever godless contraption that doesn't have save states and just go find a system that does. Like if you're playing on the NES, unless you're just a video game, like you're just really good at it, just stop. Just stop. Go pick up a 3DS that hopefully still has the save state functionality on it, or I think the anniversary collection also might have save states. I think because Leo bought it. Leo's got the anniversary collection, and I'm almost certain that he said that there are save states in this game. But yeah, I mean, I heard it's been described to me that emulators like RetroArch has save states, and it has cheats. So it's been explained to me allegedly, and that would probably be the best way to play these games, because here's the thing, they are very hard, but it's also a cool little piece of gaming history. To I mean, if you have a touchstone of what modern, well, I mean, is there really even a modern Castlevania anymore? Is the question. But the newer Castlevania games, the GBA, DS era, to some extent, like there were the Xbox 360 ones where it was more like a God of War game, but they were in the more of exploration games, and one especially was not that. You had one objective, and you were just going through, jumping up and down, using your whip, collecting weapons, and it's got a really cool gameplay loop. It really does, and basically, I'm don't cry. Like I just beat it, so don't quote me on this. But I'm pretty sure it even does it to where when you beat the game, it just starts you at the first stage over again. So I think it's just like a when if you played this game back in the day, you would just keep going until you ran out of lives. I don't know, like a new game plus kind of thing. Yeah, correct me if I'm wrong on that, but it's a really cool game. It does have its fair share of jank. I cannot tell you how many times I died because I fell off the stage because a bat spawned at the wrong time and knocked me off the stairs. And you know, this is something that kind of does not get fixed for I'm playing Super Castlevania 4 on the SNES right now, and a lot of the jank problems in Castlevania 1 don't really get fixed until Castlevania 4. You know, the the graphics, it's an NES game, and they're fine for that. And but the glitchiness of it, I guess you could say, because sometimes an enemy will spawn. You kind of expect for things to come off the side of the screen to come at you, but what is not okay is when it spawns in the middle of the screen, and sometimes that will really that can bring your run to a halt. So at all times, I found myself, after this, safe stating as much as I could, and always being prepared to have to load my last save state because I didn't know when something was going to come out of complete nowhere to just absolutely screw up my run, knock me off a cliff or take too much of my health. Because that's another thing. If you get caught in, well, at least for me, when I would get surprised like that, I'll just completely lose my composure and start just completely getting losing my sense of direction. No, not direction, but basically, I would just lose my ability to dodge things, and I would just get hit over and over and over again, and eventually die. Uh, but I mean, other than that, this game I would definitely say is definitely worth going back to play. It's a fun little game. It won't take you that long if you're just wanting to do a straight playthrough. Your main game time is going to be how long does it take you to learn the patterns? How long does it take you to figure everything out? Figure out where you need to go and all the little secrets for the boss fights are. Uh, with the save states, I think it took me about 2 to 3 hours to beat this one, and you know, I'm sure there are people that have beat it in like 10 minutes. So I mean, mileage. And we're gonna go ahead and move along to Castlevania 2, which is a game that I did not like this one as much. And from what I can tell, that's pretty much a consensus for it. Castlevania 2 was kind of like the redheaded stepchild of the original trilogy, and it's a shame because there are cool ideas in it that don't work because of the patented NES jank that was in Castlevania 1. Because in Castlevania 1 through 3, to go up and down stairs, I mean, again, this could have been me. It could have been me because I could have had just like a bad version of the game, but I would have to get just right to go up and down a set of stairs. And there were so many times where I was going back and forth, like, just trying to find this perfect little sweet spot so that I could go downstairs. And let me tell you what Castlevania 2 has a lot of, especially in the town: stairs. There's a lot of stairs in this little town, and basically the game it just plops you off in the middle of this town, and it gives you like a little hint of where you need to go. And you have to go and talk to the townspeople to get your mission. You figure out where you got to go. You go on the missions and you kill what you need to kill and come back. Honestly, I didn't get too far into this game. I ended up going and watching a YouTube walkthrough, which was about this YouTube video was less than 2 hours long. So, not that long. I think that this one would have been a lot better suited if it would have come out later. If we would have gotten the gameplay of Castlevania 3 in this slot and Castlevania 4 been, Castlevania 3, and then if we would have put Castlevania 2 on the SNES, if these game mechanics would have made it into that game, I think it would have been a lot more successful because, we'll get to Castlevania 4. I'm going to talk about this a lot more. but those stairway issues, a lot of the platforming jank was fixed, in the jump from the NES to the SNES era. Uh, so that's as much we're going to talk about that game because don't really have too much to say about that one. And next, we're going to go over into what was going to be episode two. Sometimes when these episodes don't go too long because there's not a whole lot to talk about in said games, I'm just going to go ahead and skip over and start into the next episode, which is the Donkey Kong NES trilogy, is what I'm going to call it. And basically, there was Donkey Kong, and then there was Donkey Kong Jr., and then they switched over to Donkey Kong 3. And Donkey Kong 1 was the infamous game where Mario came, really the first Mario and Donkey Kong appearances. And you play as Mario, and you've got to get to the top of the tower to get to Princess Peach, and you got to, jump over the barrels. You got to hit things with your hammer. There's not really a whole lot to say about this game. I mean, there's nothing complex, if that makes sense. There's nothing, the gameplay mechanics they're fine. They're fine. And then Donkey Kong Jr., which is easily my least favorite of them all, as you play as little baby Donkey Kong. And you're basically moving from vine to vine. You got to climb up to the top. And honestly, I just got really frustrated with this one a lot more than either one of the other two Donkey Kong games, honestly. And again, not really a whole lot to talk about in this game either. With Donkey Kong 3, I think is my favorite of the trilogy of the Donkey Kong NES games because it's more of it feels, I'm trying to figure out a good way to say this. It feels more like a game. Other than just like the first two games kind of felt kind of like like a tech demo almost. Like here's what we can do with the NES. Here show this to your grandpa so he can get you an NES for Christmas, something like that. Donkey Kong 3 was easily my favorite of these three. The gameplay is a little bit different where you play. It's a little plumber character. I'm assuming it was Mario. I didn't really read too much into it. But basically, Donkey Kong's above you, and you just got to shoot him until he's done. And I had a lot more fun. And you might just think that I'm not really giving these games the time of day, but there really is nothing to these games. It would be like me reviewing Pac-Man. You're in a maze, you gobble the little bits, and sometimes you eat the ghost, and then you're done. So those are the first 5 games in the NES. Well, I guess we should go ahead and name the show. I was thinking of the retro review corner, or retro review, something like that. So that's the first 5 games of those. So we're gonna go ahead and rank these, and since it's the first 5, I'll put these in a spreadsheet after the fact. We know when I stop. So 5 games. Number 5, I definitely think is gonna be Donkey Kong Jr. Number 4 will be Donkey Kong. Number 3, I'm going to put Donkey Kong 3 at number 3, Castlevania 2 at number 2, and Castlevania 1 at number 1. So, the next time that I do this, in this particular, the retro review format, the solo format, I should say, we're going to be looking at, let me see if I can remember it off the top of my head. It is we're going to do Marvel episode. There's a lot of Marvel games that are going to be on these lists. So I kind of kept the Marvel games, together. And then there's some movie tie-in games. I think I'm going to, put those 2 episodes together. And those games are going to be Silver Surfer for the NES, Captain America and the Avengers, the Punisher, Alien, and that's the Marvel games in that episode. And then the movie tie-in games is Alien 3, which I actually did play. Yeah, I've already played that one. And Batman Returns. Those 2 games are pretty good for NES games. And then the Friday the 13th game, which I've always heard a lot about, but never actually complete. Like, I never played it. So that's what's coming up on the next episode. And, just going through, I can tell we're going to have a lot of fun. Well, I hope y'all have fun listening to this, but I'm going to have a lot of fun playing these. So I hope you liked the episode, and I will see you guys next time.